Hi everyone, welcome back. I'm really excited about this video, which I'm calling the second step to managing your urticaria, especially idiopathic urticaria or undiagnosed hives. In this video, I want to go into the area of the body. In the previous video, step one, I talked about mindset, but they're actually interchangeable. Because when you think about it from a sufferer point of view, you can't think about creating a mindset until you're out of the woods, until you're no longer a match flaming all over the place. So this could be for step one, and mindset could be step two. It really doesn't matter, but this is the one that I'm most excited about because it goes right into what's happening in the body and what we can do to understand what's happening, to manage what's happening, and to take control back from the hives, control of our life, and eventually lead to a healing. In previous videos, I talked about histamine. I talked about what happens to the body when there's a buildup of histamines in the blood. When there's a buildup of histamines in the blood, then these histamines build up in the blood, and our mast cells, the ones that have a special receptor so that they can tell, every cell doesn't have this receptor, only the mast cells know and can identify when there's too much histamine in the blood, in the cells. And these cells are in our derma, in the levels of our skin. So when there's too much histamines, these cells produce antihistamines. And that's why the area becomes red, and that's why it gets swelled up, bumps. What the body is trying to do, the body is trying to bring blood, nutrients, healing agents into that area where the cell is. And the swelling is a reaction to the histamine trying to get it out of the bloodstream, get it out of the cells, back into the bloodstream that's going to return into the waste and elimination factors that get it out of the body. But unfortunately, if there's too much, it can't work as efficiently. And then all the other mast cells throughout the body, throughout the skin, begin to get stimulated. Remember, alert, alert, danger, danger, Mrs. Robinson. Too much histamine in the body. This is where we start. We start with creating a low histamine diet. I want to share a story with you because I think you'd appreciate it. A little over a year ago, I started searching all over the place for someone who had an answer because I thought that the answer to this undiagnosed urticaria, that someone would know. I've been to countless chiropractors, acupuncturists, functional doctors, allergists, although I stopped with the allopathic way back. But so what happened to me? I have a dear friend in Santa Fe, known her for years. And she called me up and I told her what was going on. She says, "Oh, you still have those things? I've got this doctor down in Los Alamos, New Mexico. And he heals me of everything." And she started pitching me, and I had this terrible hive attack the night before. And I looked to Rita, my wife, and I said, maybe he has the answer. I hadn't fully embraced the fact that the answer was within me. I kept thinking, there'll be a quick fix. Somebody will have the answer. Someone will heal me. It's a natural response. So we made plans. She's made a couple of calls. It was really hard to get in to see this guy. And we got in the car and drove down from Boulder to Cerrillos, just outside of Santa Fe. and stayed overnight. The next morning I went and saw this chiropractor slash healer. He did all kinds of work with me, and he was pretty excited that he could help me. And so after 2 or 3 treatments, I came back, and on the third day, I was still having hive attacks. And he had put me on some liver supplements and some diets and stuff like that. And we stayed at the ranch with my friend, and she had a function going on there because she has a beautiful place. And a dear old friend of mine, Mee McCormick, was there accompanying her husband for this little conference that her husband was giving. And I didn't know she was going to be there, so it was really a surprise. I walked in the door, "Hey, me, hey, Ed, how you doing?" She said, "Sit down and tell me what's going on with you." And I told her about that my hives had really reacted. I came back from Hawaii. I thought I was healed by this doctor, and they came back. And she asked me a couple of questions. And she looked at me, she said, "Ed Fox, you have histamine intolerance." I said, "What? What's that?" And she went on to describe how much histamine is in our foods. And when we have a sensitivity to histamine, we become intolerant of it. And just a little bit of histamine is going to fire us off. And that's how I discovered a non-histamine diet. I had to watch out for all foods that were aged, that had fermentation, nightshades, dried food, cheese, eggs, coffee. Ooh, I love coffee. All these things were histamine producing foods. Now, normally foods with histamine wouldn't bother me, and they never did years before 2014. But an event had occurred in my body that lowered my histamine tolerance, and now foods that I normally could have eaten are causing attacks. So I went on this very strict diet, and within 30 days, I noticed a significant difference in my hives. The hive attacks just dropped off. And I thought, this is the answer. And I was on that diet for close to 90 days. And then the idea was that when the diet was done with, I could reintroduce the foods that I wanted, that had a little histamine, and then begin to introduce them. Because the idea was, while the food was lowering the histamine levels of the body, I was also taking supplements to heal the initial cause of lowering my tolerance to histamine. Because who could live on a histamine low diet their whole life? It would be a great sacrifice. It would be a misnomer to think that all histamines are bad. We have to return the body to its pre-histamine intolerant state. And that's what I was attempting to do. I began introducing foods back in, and all of a sudden the hives started again. Now all of you are saying, "Wow, what good was that?" Well, the good thing was that I knew now what I still had to avoid while I was healing, while I was addressing. See, there's 2 points there. You're lowering the histamine through your diet, but you're also adding supplements, and you also have a healing protocol to heal the initial cause of your histamine intolerance. I had my antihistamines to help me, and bringing them back into the picture, I was able to say, okay, not going to eat that again. And I made a note of that and started seeing what I could bring back, what I was still intolerant of, and what I couldn't. A lot of foods came back. But what I learned was that I could control this. I couldn't control, I could only see the healing part of this protocol over the long term of watching how I reintroduced foods, histamine foods, into my diet and noticed the tolerance. The one thing that I was so happy was that I can now start drinking coffee again. And gluten, which I thought I always could, but I got off it just in case. Because the idea of this diet is to eliminate all histamine to give you a base level. When all the histamines are removed out of your diet, the only histamine left is being caused by the initial allergen, pathogen, whatever it is that tipped you over the edge and made you once histamine tolerant to histamine intolerant. And while that heals, you're going to fall off the wagon. But you have your histamines. You now know what you can and you can't eat. Because it's a system while you're dieting that I can teach you, that I used, that is so perfect. So through this diet, I learned and began to introduce coffee, a little chocolate, okay, got rice back into my diet. I was off rice for a while. Actually, rice, they said, has histamines, but my body let me eat it without a histamine attack. So everybody is different. A diet that I could suggest to you would be a roundabout diet. You would have to try each food. First, eliminate them all. And then after a period of time, I can help you determine how long that would be. Begin to introduce them and see what happens. Can you see now why, if you're taking antihistamines every day, you would not have this measuring tool? You would not have this meter to help you track your histamine intolerance back to the initial cause. This is the power of the histamine diet. And there's a special way of going through it so that it's clear. Is it easy? No. Does it take a lot of sacrifice at first? Yes. Was it worth it? Absolutely. Because my life is coming back to me, okay? Foods are coming back as I get stronger. But imagine if I had never tried. Imagine, better yet, let's take the positive approach. Imagine how powerful I felt when I now knew what I could and couldn't eat, when I now had a handle on eliminating and lowering not only the severity, but how often the hives would come into my life. Just having that choice, having that power, was taking control back of my life. I'll talk more about this in step 3, but I'd like you, if you don't mind, to listen to this again and just get a sense of how we can get grounded in what's really happening for us. We do not fall into a category of just idiopathic urticaria like everybody else. Everyone's going to have different stimulants. Everybody's going to be intolerant in a different way. And only this way can you find it out. Allergists have no idea how to do this. Well, I hope this helped. And I wish you a lot of luck on your journey. And if I can help you any way, please leave a comment, leave a question. Let me know. Help me help others. Okay? I hope you enjoyed this. And I hope you can get some benefit from this. Take care until next time. Bye. Oh, remember, you're not alone. I'm here if you need me. Take care.